The world we live in is often governed by communication using numbers. We have to talk to each other, to communicate with each other using numbers. So that's why I like this one here, this next one. What is the sum of 8, 13, and 21, comma, all divided by 3? What is the sum of 8, 13, and 21, comma, all divided by 3? Math always gets more interesting when you start mixing language in with the numbers. So we have to read this carefully. What's happening first? What is the sum of 8, 13, and 21, all divided by 3? Well, first of all, the first thing you might say is, well, first of all, Sean, all of a sudden you're bringing in division now. I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're now bringing in division. All we've talked about is multiplication. Well, okay, let's talk about division. Division and multiplication are basically the same thing. They are shortcuts for other operations. Division is repeated subtraction, just like multiplication is repeated addition. So division shouldn't worry you. It shouldn't worry you at all. Focus less on that. Focus more on what's going to happen first here. What is the sum of 8, 13, and 21, comma, all divided by 3? I think the sentence is telling you what to do. Excuse me. In order, add up 8, 13, and 21 first. 8 plus 13 plus 21. Make sure I got that right. Yes, 8, 13, and 21. I did it. 8, 13. So 8 and 13 is 21. That's convenient. Plus 21, that gives me 42. So now I've summed up those three things. And then all of that divided by 3. So I'm going to take 42 divided by 3, and I'm going to get 14. There. That's what it equals. The sum of 8, 13, and 21, all divided by 3. It looks a little bit different than our previous expressions, because the previous expressions all came to us at once. But that's not how communication works all the time. Sometimes it's bits and pieces, bits and pieces. This is what drives students nuts about Math 98, Math 105. And it also begins to make them feel good about it, because they begin to realize, oh my goodness, this is how I talk. I don't always talk in complete coherent sentences right off the bat. Sometimes I have to put those complete coherent ideas together in pieces, like this. Now, in the next one, I asked another verbal expression of the same idea. What's the average of 8, 13, and 21? We've talked about averages in here a couple times over the class already. We're going to talk about it more. Talk about it right now. And I've asked you in the past, when you have numbers like this, how do you find the average? And most people tell me they add up the numbers and then divide by how many that there are. So the average of 8, 13, and 21 is going to be, literally, add up the numbers and then divide by how many there are. Hopefully that makes sense. In the next one, I actually give you a mathematical expression. 8 plus 13 plus 21 all over 3. Now, what's interesting about this is there's something you have to do first with this one. However, you might miss it. I'm going to take a slight detour for a second. There's a certain acronym that you're never going to hear me say in this class. I think it's often taught to students when they learn order of operations. And it involves a relative that probably nobody has. And she must have done something, because you have to give her, you have to excuse her for doing something. And I don't like that acronym, because this fails the acronym. If you know the acronym I'm talking about, fine. If you don't, even better. What is the first thing in our new revised revision order of operations that has to be done? Parentheses. I don't see any parentheses here. But there are implied parentheses. When you've got a big fraction bar like this, there's implied parentheses. Those implied parentheses are around everything in the numerator and everything in the denominator. That means that you have to take care of the top and bottom first, and then at the end, do the division. At the end. So in this case, we'd have to add the 8 and the 13 and the 21 to get 42, and then divide it by 3. Some of you are thinking, you probably don't need these parentheses here, because 3 is just 3, and that's correct. But whenever you see a fraction bar, the hackles on the back of your neck have to go up and be like, okay, wait a minute, fraction bar. Fraction bar, I need to do everything up top, and if necessary, everything in the bottom, before doing the division. And that, my friends, is why the answers to the previous 3 examples, finishing with this one, are all the same. There are 3 different ways of expressing the same mathematical idea, an average. But you can do it in complete sentences that are broken up in the middle, with one complete sentence, what is the average, or with a mathematical expression. Pretty rad. Let's read on.
What I think is kind of cool about using Google to do these is you can actually see how the computer program uses extra parentheses to kind of guide the order of operations. See the 9 times 10 and the 3 times 7? Google puts those inside the innermost parentheses. That way they happen first. Those parentheses weren't in the original problem. Google had to add them. Pretty cool, actually.